Good morning, everyone. It's Lindsey Hullis from SPS back in the building with another SPS Monday Motivation. Let's get it, guys. I know it's cold outside, but it can still be warm in your heart. I know people out in the world may act right, some act wrong, but you still can keep it going. What are we going to talk about today? Something that was on my mind. I thought I had to share it coming off of last week. Your future doesn't require a RSVP. What are you talking about, Lindsey? Like, okay, where we going with this? Your future doesn't require an RSVP. What is an RSVP? You know you get those for those invitations. A RSVP is an abbreviation which comes from the French phrase, I had to take my glasses off to look at this one, respond s'il vous plaît, which means please respond. No longer used in France, RSVP fell out of favor and is considered too formal and old-fashioned. Examples: RSVP by Sunday, and are you going to RSVP to her invitation? We're so familiar with it. We use it all the time. I need you to RSVP. People say it all the time, don't know what it means. It's okay. It's just become that understanding. But it's also saying that you got to reserve your place. Let us know you coming so we can reserve a place for you. So now I get to tell a story. Get to tell a story about a great time growing up. Good morning, Michelle, me, Watkins. Hope you're doing warm down there in the city of Detroit. 'Cause I'll tell you, East Lansing, I stepped out this morning. I said, "Who's cold? Got to add a few more things to the wardrobe today, baby. We ain't going to be cold." That's what I'm talking about. Hope all is well, Michelle. I'm glad you're checking in. I'm talking about we do not have to RSVP for our future. And what do I mean by that? I'll tell you a story. I'm going to take you back to a place. And Michelle, you might be able, you don't have to chime in on this, but you may be familiar with this. I'm going to take you back to a place that's been popular back to early 2000s. Yes, indeed. What is that place out there? I know it look nostalgic. You know, you're talking about Flood's Bar and Grill. That's right. It'll take you down memory lane. She said, it's cold here too. Okay, it's cold everywhere. It is. I don't know what the heat rules are, but I'll tell you what, I'm a single man. I've been having my heat on. I just pay that bill. I'm not turning the heat on until, please. That heat been rocking for a minute. So, take you back to a place. Flood's Bar and Grill. And I'm not talking about the Floods right now that if you go in there, they got a sign on the wall that say 20% gratuity added. You don't have to sell it. I'm talking about the Floods of the day of the 2000s when it was a good time and I was a young man. Michelle, interning in the office of Mayor Dennis Archer. Oh, and give me a moment to go down memory lane to tell this story, to tell us where we are. Interning in the office of Mayor Dennis Archer, and I had suits from the late, great Coleman Young that my late grandmother, Madeline Bryant, went and got from me at an auction in Grosse Pointe and had to make some minor tailoring. So I had, a dozen suits. You know, I had the monogram shirts, and I would show people it off, and I would have the monogram. It would say CY on there for Coleman Young, and I could pull out an old memo dated from the 80s that had, a big union boss calling. So I was doing my thing. I was navigating the political process. I was working it. I was a political science major coming out of Western Michigan University, and I had my feet on the ground. So Floods was a major attraction. It was a great place to be, and I got to give a special shout-out to somebody. Freddie DuBose. Let me see. Let me make sure. I'm hearing that some people not getting it, the Monday Motivation. My mother might have to check in on some. I'm seeing it. I think she just made a mistake. She didn't see it. She'll get it. Sharp Dresser, thank you indeed. But Freddie right there, that was my guy. Freddie, let me tell you, he was looking out for me. I was a youngin' coming out, and he was seeing what I was on, doing my thing, and he was on the lookout for me all the time. And I remember. And I'm going to show you a picture of how Floods would be. You're getting there after 5, and it would be kind of conservative to a degree. But then about 7 o'clock, it'd be thick up in there, right? Everybody know what I'm talking about. This is coming through the front door. And if you look way in the back to the right, that's where you would have these tables. That's right. You would have these tables. Morning, Mother. You was having a little technical difficulty. You had me worried for a second. We got you straight, though. I'm glad you on. Right now, you can see what's going on. I'm talking about my time at Floods. That's right. When your mother, my grandmother, bought me those beautiful suits from Coleman Young, and I would go to Floods, leaving the mayor's office, and Freddie DuBose, as I mentioned before, would look out for me and give me a word or two. And let me tell you this. So I remember one day we were looking over there, and there was a reserved sign on the table. And I'm looking, I'm watching. And at times, I've seen some of the guys sit over there. Shout out to my Sans Mato Allen, his dad, and his partners would be sitting over there all the time. I said, man, that's where it's at over there. And I remember asking Freddie, and this is the key to the message. I said, Freddie, what I got to do to go sit over there? What you got to do to go sit at that table? Freddie looked at me, and you know Freddie DeBose. He looked at me. He said, "Man, with a little player too." He said, "Man, just go over there and sit down. Just go sit down." In other words, saying you don't have to RSVP for your future. Where you supposed to be, you just go and sit. Now, I'm not saying break societal norms and be inappropriate, but he's saying if you wanted to be at that table, the table where all the head honchos were, where all the ballers were, he said if you want to be there, you just go sit down. Ain't nobody you call to go. He said, if you want to sit down, you go sit down. And that is the truth. Let me tell you a little bit something about the RSVP culture to give you a little bit of idea of the psychology of this. This is from JMF. Is this seat taken? Reserved table signs. They talked about, as a restaurateur or a cafe owner, you probably don't give a lot of thought to your reserved table signs. You just need to know that they're there when you need them, right? But what if your reserved table signs could also help create an atmosphere that's both inviting and exclusive? Again, create an atmosphere that's both inviting and exclusive, while at the same time sending a strong message about your brand. See, when we see these reserved signs in the world or just in our mind, we make those things exclusive and we put ourselves out of it. But what Freddie was telling me years ago and what I'm telling you guys now, can't nobody put no RSVP on your future, because who you gonna call for your future? The only host you can contact is the heavenly host. So while you here in these days and times, you got something you focused on, there's nobody who can say it's okay, it's time. It's up to you. It's up to you. Nipsey Hussle got a line. He'll say, you'll stop losing when you fed up. Meaning when you ready to go sit at the table, you'll go sit down. I had a great week this week. The Pistons came to town. They were in East Lansing. And boy, I got to go cover the Pistons with my media credentials. It was pretty cool. And I just look at that and said, man, that's the ultimate. I've always wanted to be able to do something at the NBA level. And look how that opportunity presented itself for me. Put in the work, taking care of what I had to take care of. And here it is, my name being listed with the media for the Detroit Pistons, like meaning that, meaning there was nobody I can RSVP to say, give me this opportunity. It was because I've been doing what I've been doing for so long and hopefully so well that when the opportunity presented itself, I was able to walk right in. I was able to go sit down at the table. Ryan says, great content. Who you think will be starting for UD and Mercy? Ryan, we're not having that conversation right now. I'm not familiar with who you are, and that's not the conversation we're having right now. All due respect to UD Mercy, I'm talking about something different. We're not talking sports right now, but I appreciate you checking in and just learning on Monday Motivations. We kind of focus on one message, and all due respect to UD and Mercy and Coach Mark Montgomery, but that's not the conversation we have right now. But thanks for checking in, though, Ryan. So here's the thing. What I want to talk about is going forward in the future, don't let society stop you from sitting at the table. Don't sit around and wait for somebody to say, hey, it's okay, now you can come. Like Freddie told me years ago, and I'm telling you now, you go sit down when it's time to sit down. Now, does that mean you're going to have a certain level of confidence when it's time to sit down? That means you're going to feel that you've done what you need to do to be at the table? Yeah, you probably will feel that way. But my point is, don't look around to other people, relying on other people to give you permission to go forward with what your dreams and desires are for your future. Because if you do that, the person you're going to may be not in a position to determine what your future is going to be, only you. And the person you recognize as your God and through your faith can determine that. So your future does not require RSVP. And if so, who they go get it from? I just want you guys to know on this day as you go forward, whatever you're working on, whatever you're thinking about, it can work out. If you do what? Work hard, stay humble, keep putting in that work. My mother, Patricia England, comes and said, I've always told you and Sean, nobody better than you too. Maybe they just have more money. That's it. Yep. And then we know that ain't even it. All the way around, got Kevin Marshall in the building. Good morning, brother. We're out here trying to get a good word, man. Your future does not require RSVP. That's right. Where you plan to go, where you destined to be, is your destiny based on your work and your commitment and how you treat people in this world. But there's nobody that's going to call and say, yeah, Kevin, your future is now. It's on you. Talk about the time when I was at Floods Bar and Grill as a young person. My guy, Freddie DeBose, said, hey, man, you go sit down at the table with the reserve section when you want to go sit down at the table. Ain't nobody to determine where you're going to be and where you're going to go. So with this message, folks, I really want you to be able to see what's going on, know what's going on, and believe in yourself. Believe in your mission. This vision that you have, when I said, wow, man, being in the NBA and covering an NBA game would be great, it's happened. I've crossed over and did it. I can check that box. And what my point being is that whatever you're thinking about, that visual you have, it can come to fruition. It can. It's all about, do you believe in it? Are you going to work hard to do it? And then when it happens, are you going to be ready to accept it and move forward? Michelle says, and you may need to get your own table and not sit at someone's table. Uh-oh, Michelle always coming in to give me a little bit more. Right, because who's to say that table was it? With all due respect, I said that was a table where my son's dad and his cohort sat. Maybe I need to be somewhere, or maybe you don't even need to be at the table. I'm looking over at that table. Thank you, Michelle. I'm looking over at that table thinking, oh, that's where I want to be. Maybe that's not even the table I want to be. Maybe what's being discussed at that table is not it. Meaning, again, helping emphasize my point, Michelle. Your future doesn't require RSVP. I love it. I appreciate that, Michelle. Also, yes, sir, you want to believe it to achieve it. You got to. You got to. Cameron Houston in the building. Need to hear this. Okay. We checked the box for one. Need to hear what I'm glad. What needs to be said. I just want to say with that, going forward, don't let nobody trick you out of your opportunity. Them reserved signs and them reserved seats and them so-called red carpets and red ropes. And although we respect people's personal space and boundary, but mentally and psychologically, I don't want you to think that you can't be where you want to go waiting on somebody else to sign off on it. You don't need an RSVP for your future. Do the work. Believe. Take care of yourself. Take care of people. And let's go open up and see. And if you need examples, look at my life. Look at what I've done and how I've transitioned and created my brand where I can check the box that covering an NBA game, which I've done before, but in this capacity all the way through to the interviews and all those things and having the content has come to pass. But it wasn't about me saying, can somebody please let me do it, as I've been doing it, and that was where I was supposed to be. Your future does not need an RSVP. I appreciate that. And again, to the gentleman, Ryan, thank you for stopping in and checking out. But we'll have that conversation at a different time. Today is the Monday Motivation to keep things going. And if you listen to Coach Mark Montgomery's interview, he goes through and he gives you some insight on who will be starting for UD Mercy going forward. Check out his interview as well. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to get out here to this day. I'm going to put on some long sleeves, a little other thing to stay warm and keep it cool. But hey, number love. Thanks for supporting SPS. See you guys next time. Peace.